How are you?
Morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the legislative chambers. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I also would like to note that there is an automatic external defibrillator available at the security kiosk on Farnham level of this building, but it has also been brought to my attention that there is now one on every floor in little white boxes. And so, again, if you're in need of one, we have them on every floor. We will begin with the agenda for the Douglas County Health Center Board of Trustees, and I'll turn that over to Commissioner Duda.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning. Burl, would you please start with the roll call?
Here.
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 Thank you. This is our regularly scheduled update on the approved HMA recommendations. We'll turn to our director, Jim Turville. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Good morning, trustees. Welcome. I did send out to you prior to the board meeting this morning, probably about an hour ago, the update, and also gave you a hard copy there. Not a lot to report, but there's some big things that are in there to report, so let's go through those. The dates we're covering here are August 6th through August 20th, and we've had several meetings with the architects and also the interior decorators on the 6th and 15th, and they were to look at the plans to make sure the plans addressed everything for the assisted living conversion to short-term rehabilitation. And they were 80% done, so we've been progressing very, very well with those plans. We had a town hall meeting on the 7th of August. Chair Duda came out, and also Jerry Leahy from Public Properties came to answer any questions about the construction or the conversion of assisted living. And also Amy Chittenden, president of the DCHC Foundation, was present to answer questions. We also are working on the 14th. We worked on electronic health record RFP, and we're hoping to send that to purchasing on the 26th of August for them to go ahead and finalize whatever format or material that the RFP needs to have in it, and we will, and hopefully have it released to the public on September 4th. Also, all of the assisted living residents have now found other places to live in the community. The last ones moved out last Friday, and we were instrumental in helping them move. We've actually helped them move, took their possessions, took to their new place of residence, and as I mentioned last time, all of their health records will remain at the health center in medical records. So if there's ever a need by the state or the other facility to look at those, we will have them. We can certainly make them available. And also, we had a focus group meeting on the 19th yesterday. That's the group that comes up with ideas and ways to generate more revenue as well as to reduce expenses. And that was an excellent meeting. And we have something scheduled for the trustees next Monday. After the Board of Trustees, we'd like to take you on a tour of Via Bella. That's the old 3 West. And that's the area that's been remodeled and redecorated, really, into a unit that we can open up hopefully by September 3rd, and that is for long-term care. They are private rooms primarily, and it'll be a place where long-term care residents will be residing, and we'll also have a few, probably 5 short-term rehab patients there until we get our assisted living converted into short-term rehab. And the last thing that I have, that's it, I guess. So hopefully you can make it to the tour next Monday after the Board of Trustees, and we can show you just the great job the Public Properties did for us up there. It looks great. So thanks to them for that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Trustee Borgeson.
On the short-term, or the OTPT,
yes.
How is that going?
It's going well. I don't have any numbers for you. Maybe Dee Dee has those, but it's going well.
Maybe if we could have that in a more report out thing next time with numbers and, like where it was when we started.
Sure.
And where we are now. And
Do you want it at next Monday's meeting?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. we can do that for you.
Good question. Any other
Good.
questions or comments? These town hall meetings that Jim referenced seem to be popular with the employees, and while they are not part of an HMA recommendation in any way, the focus groups are. And I think that these are an opportunity for pretty good communication. I notice they've made the decision to proceed with these on a quarterly basis. Nobody ever asked me if I wanted to come every quarter, but
We didn't, and I apologize for that.
which is fine. It
We
doesn't
just
have to be
assumed
me.
you would be.
It does not by any means have to be me, and I will always invite all commissioners to any of these meetings. But there's probably the better part of 100 employees have shown up. We've done this twice now, and it's a good way for some two-way conversation, a good way for us to share with them. To have Jerry Leahy and Amy Chittenden give them updates on different projects that affect them. The employees appreciate that, getting that information directly, and it's an opportunity for us to hear directly from them. So it looks like we will be doing these 4 times a year now, and I would encourage anybody to show up to any of these. I'll certainly let everybody know every time we have them, and if you can ever join us, please do. It seems to be a good...
The employees really do
good
appreciate it,
exchange.
so we heard that yesterday as well. They really did appreciate
Good.
the opportunity
Good.
they had to ask questions, so thank
Yep.
you.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Any questions for me?
Jim.
Suggestions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we do have our regular trustee meeting next Monday out at the Health Center, our regular monthly meeting. We'll turn now to the Community Mental Health Center and its director, John Sheehan. Good morning.
And good morning, trustees. I'm John Sheehan, director of the Community Mental Health Center. You have my progress report on the HMA recommendations as well. We have a Consumers Advisory Council at the Community Mental Health Center that meets quarterly, and they give us advice on what we can do to improve our services at the CMHC. And at the last meeting that was held a couple of weeks ago, I was briefing them about the HMA recommendations and our day treatment program, and one of the members of the committee said, I think we could probably improve attendance in the day treatment program if we were able to provide transportation for patients to get there each day. So we thought, well, that might be a good idea and have some merit. And so we established a working group to look at that, to see if we have the capability to provide transportation services for patients coming to the day treatment program. And so some members of the Consumers Advisory Committee, as well as some members of my staff, are getting together to talk about that, to see what we can do to implement that suggestion. And hopefully that will increase, or if we do it, would result in increasing our average daily patient load at the day treatment program. So that's my update for this month. That's what we have done, and I'll keep you informed on how that initiative is going.
Very good. Your charge at this point is to get the day treatment program ramped up. And,
Right. Get it up to 10?
Yes.
Right.
For the first step.
That's right.
So, very good. Questions or comments for Mr. Sheehan?
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I appreciate the update. I'm thinking at this point, you've got your handful of directives that you have been given, and I am hopeful, with the board's approval, I think we can go to about 4 weeks between these updates.
Unless something comes up.
Right. So let's plan on making this like every 4 weeks, so that we'll repeat this meeting.
I think that's a good idea.
Thank you. Citizens' comments. Anybody wishing to comment on anything for the trustees? Not on the agenda. If not, I'm sure we don't have need for executive session. I'm real sure. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Could we please vote on adjournment?
Yes.
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 Thank you all for a good meeting.
Well, we'll start here in just a few minutes as we have the seat changed. We'll now move to the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Boyle, Commissioner Duda, Commissioner Kraft, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Rogers, Commissioner Tusha.
Here.
Madam Chair.
Here. Item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, August 13, 2013. Item B, call for a meeting and set August 27, 2013 as a date for hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax rolls or increased value on property.
Motion approved?
Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes.
Item C, citizen comments. Is there anyone in the chambers that would like to speak to the Board of Equalization about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, there's 2 resolutions.
Motion to approve and adjourn.
Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes.
We'll move to the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Boyle, Commissioner Duda, Commissioner Kraft, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Rogers, Commissioner Tusha.
Here.
Madam Chair.
Here, item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held Tuesday, August 13th, 2013, and item B, claims submitted for payment processed through Tuesday, August 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Approval.
Questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes.
The consent agenda. The consent agenda, A through L, there's a total of 12. There has been a request for item A from the consent agenda to be taken separately. So the motion would include B through L.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any questions or comments on those items? Please vote.
Motion passes.
We'll go back to item A, Mr. Eric Carlson, the purchasing agent for a bid acceptance for Cornhusker International Trucks to provide 2013 single and tandem plow trucks. To begin this, is there a motion to approve that item?
Motion approved.
Second.
And is there, I believe there's someone in the audience that would like to speak on this item, Mr.
Yes.
Jacobs?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm David Jacobs with Badger Body and Truck Equipment on 63rd and Grover Street. And this is in reference to a July 10th bid, number 1311, for 2013 single and tandem axle trucks. Currently being passed out is just my statement and also a copy of the bid tabulation, which most of you have seen at this point. I also submitted a letter of protest for the bid awarding yesterday to Tom Cavanaugh, and I think that was sent out over email to everybody on the council. I've been informed that the county garage has recommended this bid be awarded to Cornhusker International Trucks of Omaha in conjunction with Monroe Truck Equipment of Monroe, Wisconsin, for the equipment provider. This recommendation is not for the lowest bid. Badger Body and Truck Equipment is low bidder with Omaha Truck Center Freightliner Trucks. Badger Body is also the low bidder with Cornhusker International Trucks, who is the second lowest bidder. How does this bid award go to Cornhusker International Trucks and Monroe Truck Equipment when they are not the lowest bidder but the third lowest bidder? The equipment being recommended by the county does not exceed any of the requested preferred equipment that was bid by Badger Body. However, it is more expensive, and the work will be done out of the state. The bid should not be awarded to Cornhusker International and Monroe Truck Equipment since they are not the lowest or best bidder. Based on equipment currently in service at Douglas County that was provided and installed by Badger Body and is nearly identical to the currently bid equipment, I believe the bid award should go to the lowest and best bidder with either truck dealer, which is Badger Body and Truck Equipment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Good morning.
Good morning. Tom McDonald with the Douglas County Engineers Office.
Bill Green with Douglas County Engineers Office.
Good morning.
have to take exception to Mr. Jacobs' claim that this is the best, what we're recommending isn't the best bid. When we reviewed the bids, we set up a weighted matrix scale to determine a number of factors. One of them was whether the equipment from each of the bidders met the specifications. The closest to meeting them was Monroe. Nobody met them totally. Aspen was the second closest, and Badger was a distant third. We have a large number of problems with their bids. They didn't meet our specifications. They opted to bid some alternates which weren't acceptable, so that they were no longer an equivalent bid. They had a number of things that we had specifically requested that they chose to ignore and give an option. The options were less expensive, so of course their bid was lower. But if they had been equivalent, we'd have been fine with that. But they weren't. They did not. Badger Body does not meet our specifications. Historically, the last time that we accepted bids from Badger Body, every piece of equipment was late by 10 to 13 weeks. The last time we were here, Mr. Jacobs claimed that that was because Force America was late delivering equipment. We double-checked our records and contacted Force America. They shipped the equipment approximately 2 weeks before the end of their 90 days. I've got documentation of that. We had a large number of problems. I've got a whole folder here full of some of the problems we had after they were delivered. And I don't want to drag this on and on, but we feel very strongly that as much as I'd prefer to take a local company, Badger Body did not meet our specifications.
Okay.
And I don't believe we can, I couldn't in good conscience recommend them.
All right.
I'd make a motion that we go ahead and take the...
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I state my reason for being here?
Sure.
Mr. Doyle would have been here this morning, but he had another obligation and asked me if I wouldn't show. I'm here because this is the fellow that catches the devil when Doyle calls me and says, why isn't that truck out there taking care of that district? I just had a complaint. When I had first elected the office in '58, the engineer's office, we built a reputation of having excellent snow removal. And through the aid of gentlemen like this, we've been able to continue that. And I think you can verify it by each one of you not receiving too many complaints during the winter months when the snow's being moved. But if those units are down and that driver can't get to his district, we get some complaints. And they go directly to Mr. Doyle. They don't want to talk to Bill Green, or they don't want to talk to Tom. They want to talk to Mr. Doyle. And Mr. Doyle calls right away and says, hey, what's going on? You better get into that. So that equipment has to be available, has to be ready to go. And I don't like answering to Mr. Doyle, because he can be rather tough. Even though he's a fellow Irishman, doesn't make any difference. He can be just as mean. But I wanted to clarify my reason for being here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd make...
There is a motion.
Okay. Was it seconded?
Yeah, we had a second
Okay.
to it as well.
Did you get the second?
Mhm.
You did.
Okay.
May I have the opportunity to speak again?
Sure.
Please.
I have no desire to drag this out either. I'm just interested in what's fair and right. This weighted matrix that Mr. McDonald refers to as a new introduction to the whole bidding process that I was unaware of, and I believe most were unaware of. I don't know what this weighted matrix consists of, what the scale is based on. At the very least, I think that should be disclosed so there's an understanding of what this scale is based on. Relating to the bid itself, as far as our meeting specification, a little more research may be required because the counties requested specific brands of equipment as their preferred brands, and then of course or equal is the option. Well, 5 out of the 7 brands that they requested was the brands that we sell exclusively here in Douglas County. So how the specifications cannot be met, I've got a copy of the bid that we submitted with me, which of course you all have access to as well, and there are no exceptions. I have listed other for specific things where it is meets or exceeds the specification, and I was not contacted on any of this. If there were so many exceptions and so many things that we had wrong, I didn't receive a phone call to even discuss it, which is a first. Regarding the last equipment we delivered, as was discussed the last time here, Force America, and I have purchase orders and invoices from them showing when their delivery was at a later date. I also have Swenson Spreaders was the other company that was late delivering our equipment. That unfortunately upheld the delivery of the trucks past the point where we'd originally stated. But communication was open and there the entire time. Once we delivered the units, did not receive a single phone call with a problem, with a unit breaking down, with a unit not functioning. Payment was made immediately. From those set of facts, it is safe to assume that there wasn't a problem. I've done business with many municipalities for many years, and the lines of communication are always open. If there's an issue, the trucks could come back if we got something that needed to be adjusted or made right. None of that occurred. This is all the first time that I have heard any of these problems or complaints that Mr. McDonald's stating. And it's the first time that I've heard that our bid was completely off. Once again, if I have 5 out of the 7 brands and don't have any exceptions because they are the brands that they requested, how I could be third by a distant measure of meeting specifications doesn't make sense. So based on that, I restate my original statement. If I'm lowest and best bidder by meeting their preferred brands, then I believe the bid should go to the lowest and best bidder.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Anyone else want to speak on this? Teresa, did you have anything you wanted to add? My question to you would be, is everything, have we met all legal requirements with this bid process?
Teresa, York County Attorney's Office. I did have an opportunity to review this prior to today's board meeting, and I do believe that the process complied with the law.
Okay, thank you. No other questions or comments. There is a motion and a second on the floor to approve the bid or accept the bid acceptance of Cornhusker International Trucks. Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move to a recognition and proclamations. The first one is, or the one we have on the agenda is brought to us by Commissioner Chris Rogers, a proclamation recognizing August as Breastfeeding Awareness Month. Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. You have the resolution before you, but I won't read it. Just state that for years, even during your tenure, the Health Department has been promoting breastfeeding in regards to health for infants. And as you can see through the crowd, we got a numerous amount of people here that are in support of that effort. I don't know if any of them want to say anything in regard, or if Dr. Poore wants to, but if they do, in place of reading the resolution, I'd like to invite them if they have anything to say in respects to this effort. And if not, okay. Well, while Dr. Poor's coming, I would move for the approval of it.
Second.
Well, I just want to say a few words. Thank you, board members. We have 14 breastfeeding peer counselors in the department now, many of them sitting in these back rows, and we are really proud that Rick, who used to be very well known to give out infant formula, has now really switched and is trying to encourage moms to breastfeed. And I think we all are aware of all the studies that have come out about the benefits of breastfeeding. So I would just applaud the women who are here today, who are encouraging every mom to breastfeed for as long as possible. Thank you all.
Okay, no one else wishing to speak on the item? Congratulations to you all, and keep up the good work, because it is very important. It's been an important issue, good public health issue.
And thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
How do we have all these kids so quiet for so long? I don't. I've never seen kids this well behaved in public. I'm not used to that.
I was going to say it's because they're breastfed. Chris, did you have anything else to say? Okay.
Thank you.
Next is a presentation. Citizen comments. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber wishing to speak to the Board of Commissioners about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to the presentation. We have a presentation of Omaha Bee Cycle by Ben Turner, brought to us by Commissioner Pam Tusha.
Thank you. Ben had come in front of the Building Commission just a couple of weeks ago to introduce Omaha Bee Cycles to us and to inform us that we're going to have that here at 1819 Farnham Street. And I thought it was very important that he also, thank you, Ben, for coming. I thought it was very important that Ben give his presentation to the board and to everybody who's listening. As I relayed to him via email, I am not a bike person. He thinks he's going to get me on one, but I don't think so. But maybe on the back seat, one of those little toodaloos. But anyway, I will let Ben take it over and give his presentation, and then afterwards we'll be open for any questions. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Pam, for inviting me. My name is Ben Turner. I work for Live Well Omaha, and I'm the program director for Omaha Bee Cycle, which is Omaha's bike sharing program. I have a presentation here. You can follow along on the screen. I think I might have sent you a different version, Pam, than what I sent everyone else. So
I bring you to the board and you send me this different version.
But it's all basically the same information, so if there are any discrepancies, feel free to ask any questions. And I really don't mind being interrupted, so if you have any questions during the process, just go ahead and ask them. So this is a bike sharing station where bike sharing is a network of publicly available bikes located at stations such as these throughout the city. Currently in Omaha, we have 5 stations. All our stations are solar powered. You can see a solar panel here. Power kiosk where users can check out a bike. Can check out a bike from any station, drop it off at any station, and as long as you have a valid access pass, there's no limit to the amount of time you can, or no limit to the number of times you can check out a bee cycle. Every time you check out a bike, the clock starts running, and the goal is to complete your trip within an hour if you want to avoid any extra fees called usage fees. So it's a bike sharing station. It's a bike sharing bike. All the bikes in the network are the same. Purpose-built to be used by everyone at any time. So on this bike, you can see we have a basket. In that basket that you can't see, we have a lock. 3-speed internally geared hub. We have brakes, front and rear. Our bikes come equipped with bells. Additionally, we have lights, both front and rear, that are powered every time the bike is moving. So whether someone's riding at night, during the day, as long as that bike is moving, the lights are on. We have a skirt guard, fenders, and a chain guard. What that means is you're going to stay dry in sloppy weather, and that people can really ride in any attire. And we've seen people ride anything from high heels to flip-flops, loafers to sandals, shorts to dresses, sort of anything. Bike can be ridden by anyone at any time, wearing anything. So we're metro area's large-scale bike sharing program. We have 33 bee cycles, 5 bee stations. Right now we're located at the Exarban Village, UNO area. As we discussed, to use the system, you need to purchase a pass. We have 3 pass types: daily pass, which is 24 hours of access, $6, 30-day pass for $30, and an annual pass for $55. So once you have that pass, you can pick up a bicycle at any station, return it to any other station, and there's no limit to the checkouts during the time period that you have an access pass. It's activated first time you check a bike out. And again, checkouts lasting longer than an hour occur additional charges. We are a bike sharing system, not a bike rental system. So the goal is to provide a transportation option, a short-term recreation option, not to give someone one bicycle all day. And so there's a financial incentive.
Got a quick question.
Yes.
Okay, you said that the bikes are available for the hour, and after the hour there's some slight fees, but I thought you just said that there's a 24-hour period.
Yes. So this is sort of the essence of how bike sharing works. Once you purchase a bike sharing pass, you can check out a bike as many times as you want. Every time you check out a bike, the clock starts running. And on any given checkout that goes over an hour, you'll be assessed an additional fee. However, anytime you check that bike in, it stops the clock and resets it. So you could do 6 30-minute trips all day with no extra charge, or you could do 1 3-hour trip, and there would be an extra charge for that.
You can't check it out for the whole 24-hour without additional fees?
You cannot.
Okay. And how much are the additional fees?
It's $4 per hour, up to $40 per calendar day. And the idea is that, their bikes, if you're not using them, it's like a taxi, right? If you're not going to have a taxi waiting out front of, waiting outside of somewhere for you, if you're not using it, you're just going to go out and get another taxi when you're done, ready to go home. So that's the way we like to think of bike sharing, is it's there when you need it, and it's gone when you don't. So if you're not using it, check it back into a station, let someone else ride that bike around. All the bikes are the same. When you come back out, grab another bike.
Okay, and what happens if you're going to be 5 minutes away or whatever, and is there some place you can call or take care of this to let them know you're going to be late?
Absolutely. So if you come to a station that's full and you're trying to check your bike in, on the station kiosk you can get additional time on your ride, an additional 15 minutes for you to find another station.
Oh.
Or, for instance, you were coming here for a commissioner's meeting, riding a B-cycle, and you found yourself with the station full, you'd call us and we'd say, oh, we're happy to help. And we'd just tell you to lock the bike up using the lock in the basket, and then we would waive those additional fees.
Oh, fantastic.
We like to think of ourselves as customers.
Thank you.
So that's sort of how bike sharing works.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes, I had a question about a person bringing their own bike. The reason I ask is that years ago, when my law office was in the old market, I would send a runner up here to file papers, and he'd park his bike. He had a really nice, expensive, he attached it to a railing, and he came out to get it, and the building commissioner came out and popped it and took his $35 lock, which I replaced. Is there going to be a friendly place for people to park their bikes if they're running for law offices or coming in to do anything?
Absolutely. There is out front, I would say probably 60 feet away from where our bike station will be at this place, or at this location, there is a bike rack.
Okay.
Currently that is separate from the nice railing, and I think should avoid any lock cutting problems.
Good. Glad to hear
talk to Pam. She's on.
I'm glad we progressed. I'll tell you that. That was a few years ago.
Yeah. So we've done okay. We're a small system. This is sort of how we've done. We've had about 1,200 rides first 2 years. As of August 1st, for all of our metrics that you see here, we were ahead of where we were the first 2 years. We've had more annual members this year than the previous 2 years combined. Actually, we're about 1 or 2 short of that. But we're doing well. We're growing, and to that end, these are our existing stations. It's a pretty small system, and we're pleased with the results we've had because it's such a small system. So you can see a lot of our stations are close together, located in the Exarban Village area. This is the dream. This is what we'd like to do. This is not an exact approximation of where we'd like to put B-cycle stations, but it's a rough approximation. We'd like to add about 60 more B-cycle stations to the Omaha area, and really provide a comprehensive coverage of our dense, our dense neighborhoods and areas throughout Omaha.
Commissioner Kraft?
Is this self-sustaining or is it subsidized?
Right now we are self-sustaining. We're working toward future self-sustainability. Bike sharing is an expensive proposition to buy stations. It's about $35,000 for a station and the bikes that go in that station. So we're out seeking to raise capital to buy those. Once we've purchased them, we can get those bikes and those stations sponsored, and with the sponsorships, usage fees from the system, and membership fees from people buying access passes, we are able to be financially self-sustaining. So we are in a small way right now, and as we grow, we're looking to continue that financial self-subsidy, I guess. Bike sharing nationally as a form of public transportation tends to do better than most other forms of public transportation by a lot at fare box recovery in terms of the money that the system generates is generally able to support most of the bike sharing operation, and that's how we plan on doing it here in Omaha. Bike sharing is good for the community. It fills an identified community need. City has targeted improving biking and walking as part of Moving Omaha. An increase in non-motorized transportation reduces our energy consumption and pollution emissions. We're close to being out of attainment with our air quality here, so any reduction in motorized transportation helps those efforts. Also reduces the amount of land needed for roads, parking facilities. Results in increased public health. We have increased exercise from our users and improved air quality. And then there's that feel of increased neighborhood interaction. When you're out on a bike, your face is seen, you're seeing other faces in your neighborhood and moving at sort of a human pace, that you're really able to see what's going on, and leads to stronger communities. And then, even a slight reduction in traffic can make major reductions in congestion, and accordingly moving a small percentage of our city's traffic off our roads really decreases the pressure on our roads, which I'm sure we all know could be a little better, but it would also help with the city be able to maintain the pace of repairs.
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes, I could see where some major corporations might want a bike sharing station in front of their business and near a population center where they have employees if it's nearby, and nearby meaning 5, 6, 7 miles. I could also see where perhaps if we were to have a station at the Community Mental Health Center, it might help the outpatient treatment program. If we can have corresponding locations. So I see a lot of potential and a lot of community good in this.
Thank you.
I am glad we're getting it. I saw it when I was in I forgot where I was.
Portland has a big
Fort
Yeah,
Worth.
we're not going to do like
Yeah.
Portland did.
in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah.
I saw a lot.
And so, speaking of Fort Worth, Texas, we use a vendor out of Madison, Wisconsin, B-Cycle. It's a Trek company. And currently, they have 14 or 15 bike sharing programs in the United States. And all of them participate in a program called Be Connected, which means with your Omaha membership, you get a card. Looks like this. Get it out here. Get a card that looks like this. And this card will work in any other B-Cycle program around the country. So if you were in Fort Worth, you'd be able to use their bike sharing program.
So when you said the station costs $35,000 worth of bikes, that's for 5 vending units, so to speak, correct?
Yeah, I'm trying to, here we go. So this station here is 11 docks. And what we would purchase would be an 11-dock station like this with the solar panel and the large base. Can't see because I'm pointing at the screen, but there's a larger base here, and so that means we can pick up the station and put it anywhere if we didn't put it in the right place. That with 5 bikes is what the $35,000 is going to. And I think, speaking of large corporations supporting it, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Blue Cross Blue Shield's investment in this. We are right next to their headquarters, and we're in Exarban Village, thanks to them. And then Allegiant Creighton Health has provided funds that are helping us expand, and I'll get to the expansion in a moment here.
Commissioner Tusha?
Quick question for you. What happens if somebody has a bike and they're out and about and they lose their card? How do,
So this card is tied to my credit card. So if I was at a meeting and I was flashing this card everywhere and I left it on the podium, for instance, which is a real possibility, so I'll put it back in my pocket, I would be able to still use the credit card associated with my account to check out a bike, and then I would call myself and say, hey, you know, I lost my card, and so we would suspend the card and then issue a replacement card.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I think why Omaha, you know, Commissioner Kraft mentioned that he'd seen this in other places, and at the end of last year there were 27 other communities, including Omaha, that had bike sharing programs, but we need a larger one. I think it's going to help improve the health of our citizens, makes a healthy choice the easy choice. To get from here to lunch in the old market, for instance, instead of getting out your car, you can just hop on a bike, roll down to that lunch, you know, and connect areas that are close to each other but too far away to walk with a form of active transportation. So we have all these vibrant hubs in Omaha. Think of the Old Market in North Downtown, or you know, the Business District, Old Market, Dundee, Exarban Village, that are close. And you know, you feel silly driving, but you also don't want to walk. And so that's where bike sharing is going to really help connect these communities together with a mode of active transportation, and you know, opportunity to have visitors and other people who are new to our city really explore in a fun, active way. You know, and it helps us compete with other cities for young professionals who want urban amenities. Mayor of Pittsburgh said this. I really like this quote. I think it speaks highly of you know, what it means to have a bike sharing program in your city. You know, and then people are supporting us because they want to partner with these key foundations, with corporate entities, to build the health and wellness of the community. And it's an investment in something that's concrete and sustainable. It's a nonprofit bike sharing system. So, as I mentioned earlier, you know, we're seeking to buy capital assets that will allow us to create sustainable income streams through sponsorships, memberships, and usage fees. Increased quality of life with active transportation options throughout the city. You know, and we're really looking for help to provide a broader expansion of the metro area B-cycle program. And to that end, we're adding 3 stations. Actually, 1 week from today, they should be installed. The final one will be installed in a week's time. So we're adding 3 stations here, 1819 Farnham. I have a picture of exactly where that's going to be. The Bob Carey pedestrian bridge. If you're all familiar with the porta potty down by the Bob Carey pedestrian bridge, if you walked 10 feet away from the porta potty toward the street.
Only 10 feet?
Only 10 feet. Well, my original plan had it right next to the porta potty, so I can thank Emily Burgess and the Parks Department for talking me out of that one. So we're going to run from about between the trash can that's there and the porta potty through up to the Omaha Plaza sign. And that was also provided funding in part, not only Allegiant Creighton Health, but also Lewis and Clark Historic Trail helped us with that. And then 13th and Howard on the Chamber Plaza. And as I mentioned, your Omaha B-Cycle annual membership now works in 14 other cities, including places that are close, like Kansas City, Madison, Denver, Boulder, and 10 other cities. Here's where the station will be located on the plaza here, 1819 Farnham. So you can see the kiosk, the K, the circle K, and the sun means the solar panel and the kiosk will both be located down there. And then it will run 31 feet along that, along the Farnham side of the plaza. We'll have sponsorship from Allegiant Creighton, and these are the spots they'll be. And that's all.
Very good.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of more. I'm assuming this is 365 days a year. Even though dead of winter, you still see people out running and walking and riding bikes.
Yes. We are in the process internally of making the decision about what we're going to do this winter. Traditionally, we've closed. I think in the future, we're going to stay open. If we're offering a public transportation service, we need to be available 365 days a year. Mm-hmm. No one would take anyone credibly if they're saying we're not going to run the buses because it's kind of cold for a couple of months. So I think we need to be out. There are plenty of days in winter when people can be out riding a bike, and we're spending all this time and effort trying to build the habit, trying to get people on bikes. Say, let's try again. Let's try again in March. That seems foolish to us, and our costs are pretty similar at this point, whether we're open or closed. So.
And I'm assuming all the bikes are all one size fits short people and tall people and everybody.
Yes, provided you are in the range of 6'5" to 5 feet. I have a friend who's 6'8", and he said he was a little squished on it, but he rode them all the time. So this big silver clamp on the seat post, and the seat post is very adjustable.
Oh, okay.
And the bike is short so that it really accommodates everyone.
Okay. And then one other question. Are you going to tally a certain time frame to see, because what happens if this does go over big? Because I know we're into wellness here at the county and at the city end of it. And what happens in the first couple of days, all of a sudden all 5 bikes are gone and stuff. Do you have a way you're going to keep track of that so you can know if we need more bikes? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are... there's a few elements that go into that. Call it balancing, how the system's balanced. Right now, we've purchased enough bikes so that for every bike we have in the system, there's an open dock somewhere else in the system. In theory, that means that whenever you're taking a bike somewhere, there's always some place for you to go. Now, the actual demand of where people ride won't necessarily always sync up with that, and you will still run into cases where you're going somewhere and there are no bikes, or you're trying to dock a bike and there's no open docks for you. To that end, we'll be watching. We have the ability to watch the system. So at any time I can log on and see where, how many bikes are in the station at Exarban Drive. And if it becomes a critical problem, we'll send someone out and balance it. Right now, we're in sort of a hands-off. We're going to wait and see. But if we find that all of a sudden, we have hundreds of trips a day going on downtown, we're going to take the proactive steps necessary to make sure there are not problems.
And one other item, could you touch base on if there's any damage or if the bikes are stolen or they throw them in the Missouri River?
Right. So we will, we're insured. So if a bike does get thrown in the Missouri River, we'll do 2 courses of action. One, we'll look and see who checked out that bike, and we'll charge them for the value of the bike. When you check out a bike, it's associated with your credit card, and if we find, it's pretty obvious that you rode this bike down a set of stairs with or without yourself, we're going to charge you for the damage to the bike. If you drop it in the Missouri River, we're going to do that as well. And if bikes are vandalized or our kiosks are vandalized, we're going to proactively remove that vandalism as soon as possible. Maintain not only to be a good, citizen of the community, but to let people know that, it's not acceptable and we're not going to let it stand.
And what happens if somebody comes out and the bike is stolen? Can they call to report it so they don't get charged for it?
Absolutely. And my previous experience, I graduated high school in Omaha, but lived in Denver for the last 6.5 years, and for the last 2 years, I worked on their bike sharing program. And the time I was there, we had 500,000 trips, approximately. And there were 7 bikes that were stolen, and no one was ever stolen from a person. They were all stolen with stolen credit cards.
Oh, okay.
So, and I think nationwide, the instances of people pushing someone off a bike and taking it have been really low.
Okay.
And so we're not overly concerned about that happening. But again, we would be accommodating if that happened to someone. We would encourage them to file a police report, and then we would try and find the bike.
And 2 other questions. One is what happens if somebody gets a flat tire? And 2, what happens if somebody docks their bike and leaves all kinds of trash in it?
So both happen. The flat tires, we maintain proactive maintenance on the bikes. So we're pumping up the tires every 2 weeks, making sure the brakes are good, lights are in good working order, making sure the bikes are in a condition that they'd want to use. But that doesn't mean tires don't go flat. So if you found a flat tire, just check that bike back into a station. We encourage our users to turn the seats around, which lets other users know something's wrong with this bike. Maybe you don't want to use it. And then just get another bike out. Again, they're all the same. And your membership allows you to take out an unlimited number of trips. So as long as you only have 1 bike out, you're good. And then trash, people do leave trash in the baskets. We did a demo during the College World Series, and we watched more than a few people walk by and use our baskets as trash receptacles, and that's just a matter of being proactive. Building Commission agreed that they would check on the baskets of the bikes here when they're cleaning up the plaza and remove any trash, and so we're working on agreements like that with station hosts where we can. And then where we can't, our maintenance guys who are out pumping up the tires are going to empty the baskets of trash too.
And you brought up a good statement during the College World Series. During the massive amount of the tourists that come here for that. During that time, will you consider on putting out extra bikes, or will you just leave it at the 5?
Oh, we will, well, hopefully by next year's College World Series, we'll have expanded and added more than our soon-to-be 8 stations. But if not, we will manage the effort proactively. What we did this year was we were on site for most of the day before the games, both at the Chambers some, 13th and Howard, and then also at the stadium at 13th and Fahey. And so we were able to pull bikes out of the system if the station got full, or put bikes back in as needed. So we will be flexible around major events like that. And then, was there a second part of your question?
No, not yet.
Okay, just that. Oh, the College World Series was, we did a demo, and it was very successful for us. Over 10 days, we had 150 trips,
Wow.
which from 2 stations is pretty phenomenal for us. So I think downtown is ready for it. We'll see how adding these 3 stations go, and I think we'll be pleased with the results as we work toward adding another 50 or 60.
Awesome. Thank you.
Will you have some type of sanitizer there to sanitize the seats and handlebars?
That is the first time I've ever been asked that question. Which I've, I don't know, maybe done 60, 70 bike sharing presentations. I don't know, maybe. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. It's
something to think about.
It's something, yeah, absolutely. It's something we'll look into.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much.
I've been
Thank you.
impressed with not only during our County Government Awareness Month, watching Lee Legier, our Human Resource Director, talk about the bike club here that we have, but just the bike enthusiast in the county, how it's grown so much. So.
Well, I think we have a fantastic recreational cycling community and a budding transportational cycling community here in Omaha, and I think a bike sharing program is going to help a lot for both things.
And just so Commissioner Duda knows, you can't put your bike there. Your bike.
Thank you so much, Ben, for coming in front of us today.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it.
And none of my contact information was up there, but if you have any questions, our website is omahabcycle.com, and all our contact information is on there, and all that will eventually get to me, and I'll get back to you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
For being here. Good luck. We will move to committees, the first one being the Finance. Commissioners Morgan and Duda, do you have anything besides the report?
As presented, the only thing we do have is next week we will have a meeting to discuss several issues in room 903 right after the board meeting.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Next is the administrative services. There's a report regarding the proposal to move county board meetings to Monday, and I just wanted to report that we are not going to pursue that. There were too many issues that were being brought up, and so at this time we're not moving forward with that.
I did send Mary Ann when I saw the trail of emails that was taking up time, that we should just forget the idea.
Because of you.
It sometimes shows you how government works, so it was interesting.
Change is a hard thing. Next, we'll move to the criminal justice. There is a reconsideration or clarification of the appropriate Douglas County Department of Corrections personnel to negotiate with Douglas County Community Mental Health Center to provide cognitive programming for offenders in jail and community correction settings. The reason I put this back on is because once we got done with the board meeting last week, it came to my attention that we were given not all accurate information in terms of this being, all these positions being funded by the grant for the Community Mental Health Center. And so while there may be some revenue that shifted someplace, I think it was best for Mike to come back and do a good, thorough presentation of what exactly we are or would be approving to move forward with this, because if there's any cost, I think the board needs to know that. That's not picked up by the grant dollars or another fund.
Absolutely, Commissioners, and I'm happy to come down here and provide some additional information about an item that you took action on last week. And just some quick background. The Second Chance Act grant, among the projects that are funded by the grant is an implementation of an evidence-based best practice model for cognitive programming. After researching various models that were available and endorsed, endorsed by the Bureau of Justice Assistance, we selected a model known as reasoning and rehabilitation. This model was selected for a few reasons. One important one is there's no ongoing cost from the developer of the course after they do the initial training. It's a flexible model that can be utilized across jail and community correction settings. It's very comprehensive. We were very pleased with the vast nature of information and lessons that are going to be communicated to our clients. And it's also been very widely evaluated and validated as an evidence-based practice that does have an impact on recidivism. The grant funds will pay for training of up to 15 providers from various agencies. One of our goals with the grant is to be able to implement programs across the criminal justice system so that we can operate as a continuum. That's important because there's the amount of programming that's proven to be effective in reducing recidivism is quite a high amount. And so we work together with our other criminal justice agencies, local agencies, to agree to adopt this model so that as individuals move from the jail to probation or jail to drug court or any of these programs, they can get the consistent programming, everybody speaking the same language, reinforcing the same lessons so that individuals can get the recommended dosage of programming. This training will certify individuals as providers and grant licenses to reproduce all course materials indefinitely. So that's the point of where there is no additional ongoing costs from the course developers after that point. On to the selection of a provider. To implement a best practice model, we determined that we would be consolidating a lot of our services from several contractors to only a few. To give all of our current contractors an equal and fair opportunity, we decided to embark on publishing an RFP so that they all could compete. That RFP was published in June. We received 6 proposals in July. An evaluation committee that consisted of Department of Corrections staff, young adult court, probation, and drug court reviewed the 6 proposals that were submitted. Each member of the evaluation committee scored the proposal submitted by the Douglas County Community Mental Health Center as the highest ranking proposal. Our implementation plan is the developers of reasoning and rehabilitation. It's the Cognitive Center of Canada will conduct the training in Omaha for 15 individuals November 18th through the 20th. And we will subsequently launch this programming just after the Thanksgiving holiday, so basically approximately December 1st. And also the other partnering agencies will launch their continuation of this programming at that time. Funding. Due to efficiencies gained by consolidating the services, we have been able to decrease our budget for programs by $184,532. And with that concludes my presentation.
Okay, that still doesn't tell us.
Okay, how
is that? Yes,
certainly. All of our programs that we provide at the Department of Corrections that are contracted are funded through the inmate benefit account. So there's no change in that funding mechanism. We are just contracting with a different agency. It just so happens to be another county department rather than a provider from the community.
So the $150,000, which is the amount for the staff, 2 therapists, that include benefits, is that correct? Salary and benefits?
That would be up to Mr. Sheehan to answer that question as how he wants to manage that, but I would assume that that amount would cover the salary and benefits for 2 therapists at new entry-level positions.
And the training part for these 2, though, is covered by the grant dollars.
Correct. Yep. The training is all funded by the Second Chance Act grant.
And the ongoing, the concern with the inmate benefit account, the revenue we get from that is actually from the phone system, some of it.
Some of it, yes.
And so if that revenue goes away, then we could potentially be looking at a loss of revenue for covering these 2 staff people, correct?
That would be correct. It would be similar as if we were contracting. We would lose the revenue regardless of who we contracted with.
But to fund this program, the revenue wouldn't be there. And so the board would have to decide if they would want the dollars taken from some other portion of the budget. So right now it's coming out of the inmate benefit account.
Correct.
And we're probably good for 2? 2 piece, man.
Yeah. I'll defer to my boss on that.
I got it. Okay. So I guess, John, if you could come down for a minute just to, I want to make sure that the salary and benefits of these 2 staff are totally covered by this amount.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
And if this revenue goes away, I guess hiring on these individuals, I think there needs to be an understanding that this is a specific program funded by this, and that it's not a, are they contracted or are they actually going to be employees?
They'll be county employees.
I guess that's something I think the board could talk about, or I'd like to talk about. Is there something that we could do? Here's what I worry about, is that with any grant, we worry about this, is that when you bring on staff and the grant dollars go away, what happens with that staff? Now, for the most part, i.e. in the county attorney's office, they let those employees go because they know the grant dollars aren't there any longer. But in this case, how do we do that if they're county employees? But at the same time, I don't want to take the value away from the program that says that we may at some point see that it is a measurable program to continue, and so we would fund it through potentially tax dollars or put it in your budget or whatever. Yeah. So I would like to have a little bit of discussion about that. Commissioner Duda?
Thank you. John, I assume you've been in the position before where you've had to let people go because you didn't have adequate funding in your budget for those positions. This wouldn't be any different. I mean, just because a few years down the road, potentially, there's the potential here for the funding stream to go away. We cross that bridge when we come to it. In my mind, we have the opportunity to make a great improvement. I'm pleased to hear that the selection committee was unanimous in recommending the Douglas County Health Center. I think this is a great opportunity when corrections goes through this kind of a process. The county is one of 6 vendors that apply, and I believe and is unanimously selected as meeting the criteria the best. I think we all understand, and you do too, and I'm sure the staff people that we hire will as well, that we don't know what the future of this program is, but that's true of a great many programs in the county. We can see its path for the next couple of years looks good, and I would like to see us go ahead and move forward with it, just knowing that much. Thank you.
Commissioner Rogers?
Mike, when does the 184, when do you realize that? Next year? The 184 that you said is saved through consolidation?
Oh, certainly. Basically, upon the implementation of these contracts, which we would start realizing that savings. Right now, we're pointing towards a December launch of the programming, so that would be when our costs would start to reduce.
So, and the grant gives you 2 years, you said? I mean, before the account runs out, it gives you 2 years.
The inmate benefit account is projected to be around for at least that long.
Right.
Is that long enough to get some good numbers to see if it's worth continuing?
I would think so. The programming itself is designed to take how we're going to implement it. Will take 5 to 6 weeks to administer it for our portion. And I think also this will dovetail nicely with our web-based case management project, because we'll have the ability to track data in ways that we never have before, and we'll be able to provide this board much more data and meaningful reports as we move forward.
I mean, with that, I mean, my suggestion would be that we find some way to, hold it, whether it's in reserves or contain it, because I think that's the thing. We come with the alternative, but then when the money is freed up, we don't recycle it. We take it and send it somewhere else. I mean, my recommendation would be you got a 2-year run. Let's see what the numbers are, and hold that money that they are in reserve, and if it proves out as it is, the situation pays for itself. And so we get a free run at some data, a pilot, and turn it over. That would be my selection, my suggestion. Thank you.
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes, I see this as a tremendous win for the community. If it works, which I do believe it will, because a lot of people just need that little bit of guidance. And you'll be doing more than a little bit of guidance. And if we can keep people out of the system, their families benefit, the taxpayers benefit, the community benefits, the employers in the community benefit. Because I've seen what happens when somebody is detained and can't get out on bond for violating something. I've seen what happens to the family and the employer and the community. So I don't like spending tax dollars if I don't have to. So let's make sure it works. Thank you.
We'll do our best.
Any other questions? And I just want to be clear, I didn't bring this up about the value of the program or glad that Community Mental Health Center was picked. I brought it up because we were told that the grant dollars covered the positions, and the board needs to know where that money is really coming from, because it was on record that the grant dollars were covering
Absolutely.
it. So
Happy to
that was the reason I brought it up. Okay.
We'll be getting regularly updated on this at the reentry meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, everybody clear? Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
With that, we will move to the Human Resources Committee reports, the first one being the weekly report from Civil Service. If there's no questions or comments on that, as presented. Weekly CAO report on staff assaults.
Nothing to report.
And item 3, nothing at this time for the Legislative Committee. With that, we do not have need for executive session. We do have...
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Good thing.
We do. I thought maybe you wanted one.
No.
We do have a Human Resources Committee meeting following this meeting in 9:03 to discussion regarding possible RFP for insurance brokers, discussion for upcoming ACA implementation issues, and other business. So let's do maybe 10 minutes, just so everybody can go to do their biz, and then we'll see you up at 9:03.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Please vote.
Commissioner Morgan?
You don't want to go?
Motion passes.
Kind of. Like you and Mark.
For amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed